So for the last several days, I have been setting intentions and praying to God to slow me down enough to pay attention to my thoughts and to practice being more self-aware. And when I tell you, it has been a lot. And what's been coming up for me is that my ego has almost instantly, like immediately, been contradicting all of my positive thoughts that I have. It's to the point where it's almost every couple minutes that I'm catching myself and I'm catching these thoughts that are coming up, and I'm having to constantly stop them because I'm like, these aren't real. I'm not even thinking this. Like, why are these coming up? And if I wasn't slowing down enough to even catch these thoughts, just imagine how every single day I'm just moving, not even knowing or paying attention to all the negative thoughts that are creeping up that I'm allowing to just stay in my mind and allowing them to just marinate that I don't even know about because I'm focusing on other things and I'm thinking that I'm thinking positive, but all of these negative thoughts about just fears and insecurities and what ifs that could possibly happen and self-sabotaging because of these thoughts, I'm not even knowing that they're even happening, but they're happening to me. Something else that has been coming up for me is that it's my ego, and we've been fighting. And I must say, I don't like that negative bitch at all. She's getting on my nerves. And obviously the ego has a place for you, and it's not always bad, but what's been coming up for me, it's giving hater and negative, I'm not confident vibes, and I don't want them, and she got to go. Say I'm getting into the flow and just trying to shift to the 5D, basically getting out of this 3D world of just everything that's in front of me. I'm meditating, I'm journaling, I'm visualizing, and just picturing the life that I want because it's already mine. But then here comes my ego. Out of nowhere, it will just show me a bill that's due or just some real 3D shit that I am not trying to focus on. And it's like, leave me alone. Now, it's not that I am avoiding it, but I'm aware of this reality, the physical reality. I'm aware of that. I don't need to be shown that, especially when I am in my real world, which is the life that I'm picturing. That's my reality. And how am I supposed to get past that if all these thoughts keep on creeping up? And it's like, I don't know if there's ever a way to perfect not having these thoughts come up, but just the fact that I'm able to see them and understand and catch them as soon as it's happening, that's huge. So as long as I'm staying self-aware, that means that I'm able to get through and stop the thoughts right dead in their tracks before they even manifest. And I'll keep referring to my ego as she, just because I feel like it's just a different personality of me, or whatever your ego is. I just feel like, okay, I understand that she's scared, but what the fuck that got to do with me? It's so frustrating when you're trying to do better and you're trying to create this reality that you want. But then there's just this part of you that's putting out to the universe, like, okay, yeah, she's asking for this, but no, she really don't want this. Don't listen to her, listen to me. And it's like, no, listen to me. I'm the one who's speaking it. Yes, this is what I want. This is what I'm asking for. Listen to me. Don't listen to my ego and the scarcity mindset and the fear that they're putting out into the world. And it's like, is it still listening to the ego, or does it listen to me? But it's like, it's subconscious sometimes. So is what I'm asking for being stopped as soon as the negative thought comes up, or because I'm stopping the negative thought once it comes up, does that help just eliminate the situation and doesn't even put it out into the universe? It's just, this life is just a lot. I know I always say this, but this is a true question of mine. How do we as humans function every single day? How do we deal with growing and healing, living a normal life, working a job, taking care of your kids, being in a relationship, actually having friends, then having multiple thoughts going through your head and just trying to decipher which ones are actually yours. How? All I can say is a bitch is tired. But even with all the not knowing what's going on, I think it's very important to understand and pay attention to what's going on in your mind and the thoughts that you're thinking, because they can ultimately make or break you. You know, like, you want to stay positive and stay focused, but sometimes you're not as strong to fight off those negative feelings. They could be someone else's. They could be yours that technically aren't yours, but are still deep rooted because of some type of trauma or something that you're dealing with or haven't dealt with yet. And sometimes you could feel like, oh, I do feel this way, but they're not really your thoughts. They're just a different part of you who may potentially believe that, but it's not really a fact. And also, I've noticed this with my depression trying to creep back in. Before, I would notice myself just sitting in the sorrow, and I would notice myself getting deeper and deeper into the depression, and I would allow it to happen. Mind you, there's obviously levels to depression. Mine was, I'm not going to disregard it, mine was definitely severe, but I eventually found ways to overcome it. And it doesn't, when I say overcome it, that doesn't mean that it's gone for good. It just means when it does try to creep up again, I have better techniques and just different ways of going about stopping it in its tracks and getting over it within a few days or a few weeks versus months and years of allowing it to just take over. But I've learned that being self-aware, it's allowing me to notice, oh, I think the depression is trying to come back in. How do I feel about it? Let me write about it. Let me journal it. Let me acknowledge what I'm actually feeling in the moments, which if you have depression, you know exactly what it is every single time that it comes. My depression, for me, I don't want to do anything. I don't have any motivation. I feel really sad. I just want to be in bed all day. I don't want to do anything. My thoughts are constantly negative. I feel very a strong victim mentality. I just feel like everything's being done to me, and I feel like there's nothing I can do about it. And it's just this feeling of doom. Like, just, that's the best way I can explain it. It just feels like a sense of doom where I just feel like at that time I don't know what to do or to how to get out of it. But now I pay attention to those and I acknowledge them. I sit in those feelings. I just don't allow myself to just go down the rabbit hole of allowing it to get too deep to where I can't get out of it. More of the story, I'm starting to think that I have multiple personalities. I don't know if it's just me, but the more that I am healing, the more I am starting to understand what they define as crazy people. Sometimes learning the truth and all that's out there just sounds really insane. And for those who don't understand or can't even fathom what comes up for you during the healing and growth and stage, or just when your mind is open or it can't be seen to the normal eye, it scares them. And I understand, it's scary for me. I can only imagine when people see things and, you know, there's like a whole spirit world where there's people walking among us and there's so much going on. And if you try to explain it, you will really sound crazy, because if you don't see that or even believe that or even understand that world, you're going to be like, oh, they're crazy and they need to be put somewhere. Just imagine you being the crazy individual, the person who's labeled crazy. And you have to keep all of that in you. You can't talk to anyone about it. You don't have a community to share that with. It has to be way too much to try to understand and get through and get over. But okay, rant over. People don't realize how two-dimensional awareness is. If you focus and pay attention long enough, you start to have a different understanding of how there's so much things out there that a lot of us don't even know about, and it's real trippy. But I'm done talking about that part before I start sounding crazy. I'm gonna continue to slow down and pay attention and be aware of the thoughts that are mine and pay attention to the thoughts that aren't, and continue to focus on what I can focus on and just be more self-aware of my actions and my thoughts and my attitude and how I treat others. That's all I can do. But until next time, stay high and keep shining.